Sorry, racers. This video is not about you and all your great accomplishments and your training and all your sponsorships and all that stuff. Oh no, we're talking about other celebrities. You know, the kinds you see in the movies, hear on the radio. You know, people that come from, guess what? Some come from bike shops. And some are very smart, and some are just, I guess, it's kind of good looking or good luck. I don't know. But we'll review a few of those after this.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with a guy. This is As the Wheel Turns, So Do Days of Our Rides series. I will be covering topics of the industry as well as consumer views with my 30 years experience.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with a guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy, and this is As the Wheel Turns, So the Days of Our Ride series. And today we're going to talk about celebrities. Yeah, Lance Armstrong, we're not talking about you, so go put that ego back in your back pocket and go right along. We're not talking about racers at all. You know, they have their fame and the sponsorships and so forth, but I'm talking about celebrities. You know, the ones you see on the movies, you hear on the radio, maybe, or they have some scientific accomplishment celebrities that came from the cycling community. When I talk about cycling community, bike shop specific. Yeah, I'm going to talk about those celebrities and the ones that I actually kind of crossed paths with in my experience of working in a bike shop, in the shops that I've been in, as well as in general selection of bike shops out there. Good people come from bike shops, you know. That's what I hear. Let's talk about a few of these. Celebrities. Well, everybody loves celebrities, but sometimes don't meet them in person. It just, you know, it's like that saying, don't ever meet those mentors. It's just, or whatever. It's not as good as you thought it was going to be. Anywho, coming across a lot of celebrities over the times that are bike shop related. Well, I'm going to talk about the big one, and it has affected pretty much everybody in the world. But we'll get to that one last, of course, because I'm going to drag you through the whole laundry list of what I know and what I found out. So, coming with a more current celebrities that are within this decade, per se, that worked in bike shops. Bike shops have been around for a long time. We know this, right? If anybody had the pleasure of working at a bike shop, they know that the nuances of actually working on a shop are quite interesting, because you got the technical factor of working on bikes, that mechanical minds and that kind of thing. Then you got the ooh and ah, the new stuff and what have you. And you combine that and fold it in with dealing with customers. Well, the bike shop peoples obviously don't stick around for a long time, forever, most cases, because it doesn't pay well. So a lot of us move on to other things. And I want to talk about the few celebrities that came from bike shops would kind of like go, oh, I didn't know that, which I did not know as well. I'm going to start off with a very funny guy, Robin Williams. He actually came from a bike shop, and he worked in the bike shop in the San Francisco area as a younger Robin. And everybody, good portion of everybody out there knows Robin Williams, the comedian. And I remember seeing him the first time that I can recall him, Mork from Ork, or whatever it is, based in Boulder. He was an alien, that kind of thing. It was really hilarious. I hear backstories about him on the set that he would crack up the staff so much and so often they had a hard time shooting. Well, it could be partially that he was a very, very highly active person. I believe a lot of nose candy was part of that. But that was the 70s, and I'm not going to go into that part of it. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that he actually did come from a bike shop. Who knew? Push some more button. Push it. Push it. I dare you to push it. Once you push that button, you get more details about the video you are watching, in addition to all the tools that I use in the shop, as well as suggestion for improving your ride. In addition to help me provide advocacy in the cycling community, also links to other social media accounts as well as my website to find the products I actually sell and other insights in the industry. Other videos linked below. Extend your cycling experience here on YouTube. And now back to your original programming. This is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house in my neighborhood. Yes, I'm talking about David Byrne, the singer of Talking Heads. He came from a bike shop too. Kind of interesting. Creative people following suit. Kind of a trend, right? Very interesting thing to find these interesting individuals that are artists come from a bike shop background of working on bikes. Got to be creative to kind of fix this stuff, right? This one really pulls on my heartstrings because I listened to this guy a lot in the 80s and the 90s. Mike Ness, singer of Social Distortion, punk rock band. Yeah, he worked in a bike shop in California, which, it doesn't fall too far from the tree in the sense of understanding of the perspective of how he takes his work ethic of DIY from the cycling industry to current day. The guy is a legend in the music industry, and within the punk rock scene that I came from, he's one of the greatest. This one's kind of interesting. Tom Cruise, the Mission Impossible man himself. Yeah, I'm doing the karate chop run. Yeah, Tom Cruise, apparently he went to Smoky Hill High School, as rumor has it, where pretty close to where I lived back in the time. He and I are pretty close to age, so I gotta wonder, maybe our paths crossed at some point. But anywho, apparently he was into BMX racing more so than actually working in the shop. But hey, I'm not gonna draw strings. Tom Cruise is pretty cool. And I did actually see him in person at one of the little conventions that we have here in Colorado. Not bike shop related whatsoever, but this is when he was married to Nicole Kidman. I'm walking down the hall. I'm going to go see Tom Cruise speak. I'm like, who's that tall redhead? You know it. Other ones worthy of mentioning that are big celebrities that are into cycling, Matthew McConaughey, the guy that speaks in really long sentences and really ends up not saying anything at all. It'd be interesting to actually ride a bike with him because you probably not understand where you're coming from or where you're going, but the experience had probably been wonderful. Kind of cool, right? For a celebrity. Jake Gyllenhaal, he's played a couple of crazy movies, one with a rabbit, that thing. I think I got the right guy. He's into cycling too. You'll see him riding around as well, that kind of thing. It's kind of fun to see some of these cyclists grab this experience that I've been a part of for all these decades, and they kind of advocate it in just in general things. You even see Arnold Schwarzenegger on a bike riding around, and they're not even sponsored, just riding, having a good time. That's kind of cool to see, right? Of course, you got to take in Chris Evans, Captain America, avid cyclist, likes to ride. Yeah, that's just to name a few of them. But there's a lot of celebrities that have gotten into riding that didn't come from bike shops. But I'm not going to pull strings here on the beginning of the trailer, but when you're talking about people trying to be healthy and having a good experience and get out of their head, they have really stressful lives, and to be able to fit in an experience of riding and get away from whatever the paparazzi or the trend and all that, and able to do that, good for them, because I know it's got to be a challenge, especially in the demographics of where they actually live in LA, that kind of thing. It's got to be kind of tricky, but I'm sure once they go remote shooting or whatever they're going, grab a bike, go for a ride. It's great exercise and get to see a lot of different places. Honestly, a great place, a great way to see places is on a bike. Go rent one, go for a 5-10 mile ride in the city that you're actually visiting for work or whatever. It's a great way to see the places that you probably wouldn't see in a car or even walking. Good for that. Okay, yeah, Justin, all these celebrities, you pull them up on the internet and what have you, and you're just regurgitating them on this video. Yeah, here I'm going to go into the ones that I actually have personal connections with. This is kind of interesting because it's one of those things when you work in a bike shop or have worked in a bike shop and you find out somebody that's very popular that worked in the same shop you did or something of that nature, you perk up and go, what? Say what? Now who now? This is kind of cool. Well, the first one I want to talk about, and it kind of really opened my eyes, was Jason Momoa. He is Aquaman, right? Before that, he was like on Stargate or something like that, and various other movies. And of course, everybody thought he was the sexiest hunk ever in Game of Thrones. You know the guy, like Tyrius. Yeah, he's. Anywho. I followed him on Instagram, and I was like, watching one of the posts, and he made a comment on one of his posts that said, oh yeah, I'm really into Specialized. It goes back to the days of Fort Collins at Lee Cyclery. I'm going, what? Oh, I have to look this up. Sure enough, the guy worked at Lee Cyclery a couple of years before I actually showed up on the scene, but hey, lo and behold, he worked in the shop. He got familiar with the Specialized brand. as well as probably Trek and a couple other ones that he doesn't mention because they're not paying him now to say those things. But anywho, he does have an actual passion for cycling. Not sure he rides that much now, but it's kind of cool to see those promos from Specialized or what have you. It kind of goes to that grassroots. It's kind of cool, right? The other celebrity, which I found out while I was working there, was this guy named Bill West. And this guy, he is super funny. And if anybody worked at Lee Cyclery and seen this video, you know who Bill West is. Bill West is one of those iconic Fort Collins mechanics. He was funnier and funny. He had like this rotating stories constantly going. And if you work with him for more than like, I would say a month, those stories would start looping. But not to say, he had one about this guy, a younger kid that worked in the bike shop, was going to CSU college, and he goes up to Bill and is like, hey, I finally made it. And Bill's like, oh, that's great for you. Well, this guy was a singer in a band. Well, his name was Todd Park. Yeah, Big Head Todd and the Monsters came from Fort Collins. That guy worked at Lee Cyclery. You know the infamous voice? Yeah, that guy. I can't mimic that whatsoever, but I can try. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to work in a bike shop in a short period of time that it has been, it was open for like over 50 years. And now it changed over to a truck store. But anyway, over that duration of time, I'm sure other celebrities that maybe came out of that or cruised through that shop. So one of those iconic shops like Lee Cyclery and so other ones out there. And I'm sure if you're a mechanic or you worked in the shop, you probably have stories. Feel free to share those in the comments below. Because there's always kind of those funny experiences. Sometimes you're working with somebody and you're like, oh, you know, that's a cool person, what have you. And somebody pulls you aside and goes, oh, you know, that was such and such. And you're like, who? And you're like, such and such from. And you're like, oh, you got to be kidding me, you know? So it's one of those things that when you come across those is really kind of cool, especially where it's somewhere that you've actually worked. It's like, oh, we stand in the same spot. We worked on the same workbenches. We've done the same thing, which is kind of a cool connection. And when you see them in the movies or listen to them on the radio, you're kind of like, that's my person. You know, those are my people. So that's kind of cool. But I want to go back in time. Whoa. Yes, Parker Bikes days. Parker Bikes was open in '87 and we had to close in 2001. And during that short little window of time, compared to like Lee Cyclers and some other establishments out there, we'd had our fair share of celebrities as well. One of them that really comes to memory is my dad hanging out, and he was a very talkative guy, so very approachable. Everybody loved talking to him. And he was talking to this one tall guy with brown hair for a long time. And turned out it was Ed McCaffrey, you know, the receiver of the Broncos of winning the Super Bowl in the 90s. Okay, that's more of a localized thing, and you're probably like, who now? Well, he's grown. He's no longer in football, but his son is now playing for San Francisco and whatever the case may be. But it's really kind of cool to see a sports celebrity hanging out in your shop talking to your dad like he's your best buddy, that kind of thing. Well, with sports contracts, they're not allowed to ride. He was actually there for his kids' bikes, which Christian McCaffrey, now that's playing for San Francisco, he rode one of our bikes back in the day. It's just kind of mind-blowing when you kind of loop those things together. And you're like, that's really, really kind of fun to think about. Yeah, I know, smaller bike shop has more of a local celebrities and so forth. But hey, we lived in an area which is south of Denver, kind of a sprawling, it had kind of its richer neighborhoods. And I wouldn't say super rich, but nicer. And we would, for some reason, the hockey people like this place. So a lot of the Avalanche players, our hockey team in Denver, ended up living in that area. So you had Patrick Roy lived out there and a few others, a couple coaches over the period of time. And I had an Avalanche jersey and I got a couple of them signed. But the funniest one I loved, and he was not really that popular, but his name was, I think, Jeff Odgers. Odgers was his name. He was the bruiser. He was the guy that you show up in the shop, he'd be all black and blue because he got in a fight a couple days ago on the ice with a opposing team or whatever the case may be. But the guy was the nicest guy ever. I mean, he was so sweet. And he was, talking about his traveling, his games, and the hockey experience. He was open book. It was really kind of fun. And again, he was not there to get a bike for himself because under contracts, they weren't allowed to actually ride. Well, the funny thing is his kids, that's what he was getting the bikes for the most of the time. It was really cool, and it was really around Christmas time, and I noticed there was a ticket that he had a couple of bikes that were special ordered for his kids, and we got them all built up, put bows, and I'm like, oh, I got to go home and grab my jersey because I know he's going to come in and sign it. So the day comes that it's time for him to pick up the bike, but his wife comes in, and I was like, oh, okay. And when my dad, he kind of steps in and goes, Justin was kind of really hoping to, see Odgers because, he brought his jersey and so forth. I can't believe this. It was kind of one of those moments that were kind of jaw dropping because everybody has a boss. Odgers, his wife, was the boss. She pulls up her flip phone and goes, hey, yeah, you need to come to the shop now. Yeah, one of the guys here wants you to sign his jersey. I can't tell you. In about 5 minutes, he just rolling in. He's all happy as can be. And he's like, hey, I heard you had your jersey. You want to have me to sign it and all that? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Could you do that? And like, yeah. So he signs it off. And that's one of those situations where you really got a connection with somebody that's in the sporting world or music world or acting world. It's just kind of cool that, obviously they're people too. But when you actually be able to converse with them in a people setting, it's really kind of special. And the last one I want to talk about I met in person was the Birdman from the Nuggets. This tall white dude. I mean, I never seen a basketball player in person and that tall and tatted up and all sorts of. And if you watch any kind of basketball, the Birdman. He played at the Nuggets and he went on to a couple other places. But he came in the shop I was working at the time. I'm going to say it, but performance was no longer, so I guess whatever. He comes in. He wanted to ride bikes. I mean, it was kind of funny. This guy's like almost 7 foot tall, right? I mean, to me, he was 7 foot. And he was like, I want to ride bikes. He has his girlfriend. We want to get bikes. So we sold him the tallest bike we had. And got his girlfriend a good bike, too. And they were going to go ride and have a great time. This was awesome. When he got on the bike to test ride, it looked like a tricycle to him. Our tallest one that I can barely straddle, and I'm 6 foot. He got on it, and it looked like a little tricycle riding on a parking lot. I'm like, you sure? And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to ride for a little bit here and there to trails. And, I'm not ready to buy something custom. I just want something to just tool around. I'm like, all right. So it's really kind of funny to see a huge, tall basketball player riding this, like, 27-inch tall frame around the parking lot, and is as happy as can be, just riding along. All right, as I promised from the beginning, the best for last. These individuals that came from a bike shop, and their influences and their accomplishments affect all of us globally. Crazy, huh? Thinking about this is mind-bending because, when somebody does something and it affects everybody globally for decades later, it's quite amazing. Well, there's actually two. I'm going to start with the first one. First one, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, he may not have worked on the bike shop per se, but actually he had a big bike influence because he liked riding bikes, and as the most efficient machine on Earth from then to now, yeah, you see posters of him riding his cruiser through the galaxy. What a great way to have a mindset of play like in your head, like this is where he is. This is where I like to be when I pass. But anywho, the biggest one though, Einstein, you got it. You got a lot of it, but this is the biggest one that affects us quite a bit every day. The Wright brothers. Yeah, a lot of people may know about this, that they actually worked in the bike shop. Yeah, Orville and Wilbur, I think. They, brothers working in a bike shop. They also had a printing company too, but they worked in the bike shop, and that mechanical skills that they had of working on bikes helped them produce their prototype. There was a competition of flying, right? Back in the day, nobody was flying yet, but they had kites. And I was reading about this, like they had kites, and they were really fascinated with kites when they were kids, and working in the bike shop, influenced by kites, studying birds, working press. You can kind of see it afterwards. Oh, this is how it all came about. So yes, a pair of mechanics built the first plane, which today, majority of us have ridden on a plane, and majority of us have gotten stuff from transportations of planes. So, it affects everybody one way or another, and that's one of the biggest things. But how did they get there? Were they just, I would love to be a fly on the wall in the shop listening to these two talking about, like, oh, there's competition, we should really do something about this, we like kites or whatever. And then I bet it would came out, well, who was going to get on the plane first? And it was like, well, the one that wanted to survive and take over the shop. I think it was more of like a double dog dare. I'm like, let's see you get messed up. But anywho, shop talk, we kid around, that kind of thing. But yeah, back then, you see those videos, or not videos, I'm sorry, like the kind of the movies that they have, which is no sound, and you read the stories, but you always seem like they're very stiff and really kind of like proper, which they could have been, but most likely not. I'm sure there were jokesters and the pranks around the shop, because every shop I've worked in, there's a level of humor of just because you're tinkering on stuff, things make you frustrated. It's a great way to vent about things, even from bikes, customers, owners, people. We're all in a hot mix. Gotta laugh at it sometimes, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my laundry list of celebrities that were affected or came from bike shops. Something a little bit different perspective. Yeah, okay, Lance, now you can take the stage again and be whatever you do. But in the interim, the regulars us people that, if you're working in a shop now, inspire to do something great. You never know. You might be the next Wright brothers or Einstein, or be an actor, or really funny like Robin Williams. I'm not so that funny, but I like to think I am. Until next time, thank you for hanging out with me in the garage. It was nice in your neck of the woods. I hope you get a chance to go for a beautiful ride. Thanks again. If you like these videos, smash the buttons. You know the drill. Take care, and thanks again from the garage.